last one. Well, folks, it's the end of July, and if your brain hasn't started moving towards archery season, you might be a little behind. So I figured for this week's episode, I'd give you a rundown of my archery setup for 2023. Let's get into it. Alright, so we moved into the house now because it has once again started to rain. And, well, I don't feel like filming in the rain. Anyway, the bow I'm going to be shooting this year, I got it 2 seasons ago. It is the Diamond Infinite 305. It's rated up to 305 feet per second, which is pretty decent out of a compound bow. But I can assure you it's not getting that. It's set to 62 pounds draw, and I'm shooting a really heavy arrow. We'll get to that in a second. Anyway, this bow's pretty sweet. I picked it up used at a sporting goods store nearby, and it was like 350 bucks. But the range on this thing is insane. You can go from 7 pounds of draw up to 70. And I've never heard of any other bow that can do that. Overall, I've been pretty impressed with it. It's relatively quiet, it's stable, everything's still secure on it. Most of this was mods from my previous bow, which was a Martin Bengal. I don't have it chronographed, so I don't know exactly how fast it's shooting, but that'll be on my to-do list for things to do in the future. Alright, so as I was editing this video, I realized I got a few things wrong about my bow, which is kind of embarrassing, but you'll have that on these big jobs. That's why the angle and lighting might be a little bit different, but regardless, primarily about the sight. I thought this was a TrueGlow Octane because the only writing I could find on it, I don't know if you can read that, but it says Octane on the thing. And I remembered buying a TrueGlow sight for my previous bow. Well, turns out that I remembered I bought this bow completely built. All the mods and accessories were already there when I got it from the sporting goods store. And this is not a TrueGlow Octane. Octane makes their own sights. So it is an Octane Striker 3-pin sight. Anyway, just wanted to get that cleared up. I'm going to go back and finish editing this video. Enjoy. And it has a little level. I am just terrible at this. Anyway, has a little level in there so you know your bow will be level when you shoot and you're not putting a cant on it in any direction to throw your shot. I run a whisker biscuit. A lot of competition shooters prefer a drop away rest. I've seen a lot of hunters going that way too. But this really helps manage the arrow and keep it together. Keep it on the bow, keep it from falling off, especially when I'm up in the tree saddle trying to reach around the tree to pick my bow up or swinging around. I don't have to worry about the arrow falling off the rest because it's completely contained in the whisker biscuit. The bow itself came with a little sling. I never shot a sling before this bow, but I kind of like it. It just adds a little bit of extra stability, kind of another anchor point, if you will. You can feel that there's no tension on your wrist strap that's going to kick your bow whenever you release. The stabilizer, this is going to be my first season with a stabilizer because it's not really a stabilizer. It's a camera. This is my Tacticam Solo I used during the turkey hunts. It came with the package my wife got me for Christmas came with the stabilizer attachment. It just threads in like a standard stabilizer and it replaces it with a camera. And it just has a little thumb screw. So a little thumb screw on the bottom here that holds the camera in place, and you can slide it out or drop it in and go. That way, if you just have to recharge it or something to that effect, you can just slide it out, slide it back in, and you're good to go. I'm going to be practicing with the camera in the mount, just so I can get used to the weight before archery season comes. It doesn't add a whole lot of weight. It's a pretty light camera, but it's just another thing to get used to. I also typically shoot without my quiver. especially when I'm in the tree saddle. I'll have my quiver in my backpack, right next to on the opposite side of the tree from my bow. I'll hang the bow off the side of the tree. I have a strap that goes around. If you want to see my saddle setup, leave it in the comments. And I'll do that video if we ever have a day without rain. But anyway, I'll hang my bow off the side of the tree. My backpack on this side, I'll usually take my quiver off so that the bow lays nicely against the side of the tree. And I don't have to worry about it being kicked off to the side or falling off the hook or anything to that effect. Still have the original string on it with the release loop. Probably could be, probably due for a little bit of waxing. I'll have to do that here soon. So anyway, that's everything interesting about the bow. We'll move on to the release. Cheapo release. You gotta love it. This is a standard true ball simultaneous jaw action release. Just velcros in place. 2 different straps, and it stays pretty well within your hand, so you can still use them for various things, specifically in my case climbing trees with the saddle. So next we'll move on to arrows. I also picked these up 2 seasons ago. These are Sirius Apollos. They have a 100 grain outsert, and I'm shooting 125 grain currently field points. These are the Amazon special, supposedly easy release, but really what I've noticed they do is absolutely annihilate my target, because the field point is thicker in diameter than the arrow. These arrow shafts are 0.204, so they're a little slimmer. It really helps with penetration when you actually shoot an animal. You're more likely to get a pass through, especially with all this weight going forward. I delved into the teachings of the Ranch Fairy, and if you haven't heard of that guy, go check out his YouTube channel. There's a lot of interesting research with arrow flight penetration, making the most lethal possible arrow. So the Sirius Apollos, I literally just went to the Sirius website, not sponsored or anything, but I just went to the Sirius website and I looked up the Ranch Fairy Special. So they come fletched with AAE max fletchings, the 100 grain outsert, and I'm shooting a 125 grain tip. The tip I'm going to be using, or broadhead I guess, are the 125 grain Magnus Black Hornets. These are the serrazers, so if you can see they have a serrated edge on them, as well as the 2 bleeder blades. So it's technically a 4-blade, fixed blade broadhead. And as far as I've seen so far, last season I wound up hitting 2 deer, and I wasn't able to recover either of them, which was entirely my fault. The first one I hit, she took a step as I released, and it just hit way far back. We never wound up recovering her. We did find her on trail camera this year though, so she is still alive. She made it, which is just honestly incredible. The second one I hit was just way low brisket shot, just grazed her I think, but we went in too early to track her and we wound up bumping her. Never caught up to her again. She quit bleeding, and I assume she's still alive because she quit bleeding. But at one point we had 2 beds within 10 yards that were full of blood, so it wasn't looking good for her. Maybe if we would have left her that night and come back in the morning, we would have had a higher chance of finding that deer. But either way, that season's gone. We're done with it. We're not dwelling on it. We're moving on. I'm also shooting lighted nocks, so you can see where I'm shooting. And these are Glory nocks. And I think they are really cool because they don't like scooch back out to turn off. They have a little button on the side. Let's see if I can find. Here we go. We'll just use the blade of the broadhead. You can see there's a little nodule on the inside of that. And as long as you push down on that nodule and push in the button on the side of the nock, it turns it off. And then when it's depressed and released, it kicks on. So you load it onto your string, it's off, you shoot, it kicks on. And then to turn it off again, you just depress that nodule. You can use your pocket. I usually use the zipper on my little pouch quiver here. And push that button in, pull it out, and it stays turned off. So that will be my arrow setup. And that's pretty much everything interesting about my archery setup, the gear itself, the actual shooting implements. So if you want to see more, drop it down in the comments. I'm ready and willing to do a video on my saddle setup and do a little bit of practical sighting in. So anyway, if you enjoyed today's video, make sure you click like, subscribe if you want to see more. I'm going to say ahead of time, good luck to anybody going out this archery season. Shoot straight. I'll see you in the next one.